Hello and welcome to a new episode of I'm Still Playing. Apologies for not appearing on camera today, but I've been suffering massively from allergies the last couple of days, and I look like death warmed over. So you're just going to have to be satisfied with my dulcet tones for this episode. Also, I'm going to go a little off script today. Typically, I have a whole prepared thing, but today I'm mostly just going to want to talk to you, which means it might be a little bit rougher in presentation, but hopefully feels a bit more natural. I don't know, we'll see. For today's episode, I want to talk to you about what it takes for you to consider pouring time into a new gacha or MMO. Because let's face it, there have been a ton of new announcements over the last couple of days, all of which will be vying for your time. And I want to use Neverness to Everness specifically as an example here because they just released another closed beta trailer. And this is a game that, at least for me, I feel like has a lot of potential. But I am sensing a lot of cold feet from people in the gacha space. And honestly, I'm kind of wondering why. I mentioned Neverness to Everness a few months ago as one of the upcoming gacha games I'm super excited about. And for me, the main reason is this incredibly large, expansive urban environment, which I am just an absolute sucker for. But we've seen already there's a lot of competition even in that space. We know Ananta is on the horizon, although we don't know when yet. And honestly, we've not seen any real gameplay footage from Ananta either. We've seen these beautiful, amazing trailers, right? But we haven't seen anything that really shows us like what the gameplay is. And then just a few days ago, Silver Palace dropped this eye-dropping trailer from out of nowhere, along with 10 minutes of gameplay footage that again blew the entire gacha community away. But there's also no semblance of a release date for that thing. And given that it just came out of nowhere, I'm guessing it's also at least a year away. Whereas Neverness to Everness has already had two closed betas, is coming from a fairly well-established studio. All of the people that I've seen that have been playing in the betas seem to have a fairly positive reaction to what they've seen so far, if not necessarily glowing. And yet it seems like everyone in the gacha space is not expecting this game to do very well. And from what I can tell, the reason they don't expect the game is going well is that the game doesn't seem to distinguish itself enough. In fact, I think Gacha Gamer called it a Genshin Impact chroma skin or something like that. But if it just feels like an urban landscape reskin of Genshin Impact, I can see where that may not feel like it's going to be enough. So let's take a look at some of the features that Neverness to Everness is trying to offer in terms of being able to distinguish itself from other gacha games. So the first thing, of course, that I've already talked about is this actual environment, right? This big cityscape. And I've mentioned before, cityscapes are really hard to do and to do well. It's so much harder to build a robust, living city than it is just your typical pastoral fantasy, wilderness. And that's why, I've been so blown away by games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Grand Theft Auto for that. Um, but so this is what they're attempting to do here, and it looks like they're trying to do a lot to make this city feel alive, right? As you go around, you're going to see NPCs coming and going with their daily lives. You're going to see them kind of hanging out and listening to music and enjoying themselves. Supposedly, they're going to be doing a lot with environmental storytelling, which is basically when you're running around the world, you see things that make you want to ask questions. And for me, this is some of the best kinds of storytelling. Remains to be seen if they're going to deliver on that promise or not, but that's certainly what they're saying they're going to. There's also apparently a shit ton of stores just peppered throughout the city. And so, you'll get distracted by just being able to stop off at all of the various stores and buy, all of the materials and things that you're going to need to grind up, and even buffs and foods and things like that. So that's kind of cool if they really have a robust number of stores that you can kind of move into and out of. But will that be enough? Is it the fact that it's just in a very large living city, is that going to make you feel, like it's distinguished itself, right? Of course, the really big distinguishing feature that everyone talks about when they talk about Neverness to Everness are the vehicles, are the cars, right? Apparently, you can rent a car or you can own your own. You can have them summoned to you at any time, and then you can use them for driving around in the city. And it's a fairly sophisticated, robust driving, simulation. And that's pretty cool in and of itself. Now, what I've heard as the sort of main criticism of the driving system is that there's not much to do with the cars right now, except for using them to drive around the city and run into stores and crazy things like that. Well, I feel fairly certain that Hoda Studio is going to remedy this. You don't go to all the trouble of building a robust, sophisticated, physics-based vehicle system, even if that vehicle system is cribbed almost entirely from Unreal's default vehicle system. You still don't go to all that trouble and not provide in-game events that are going to take advantage. I'd be very surprised if there weren't some kind of daily races or some other shenanigans where you can essentially play, run through rings or do a slalom course or whatever with the vehicles before this game. It's just You can count on that. I feel almost certain. Another thing that apparently NTE is offering to try to distinguish itself from the other gacha games out there is player housing. Now, I didn't play enough Genshin Impact to know if they offer any kind of customizable player space per se, but I can tell you with authority that the three games I am playing right now, Honkai Star Rail, Withering Waves, and Zenith Zone Zero, do not have any sort of player housing or customizable. Zenith Zone Zero has this little shelf that you can decorate with various, items that you've picked up throughout the game, but that's really about it. And let me tell you, you cannot underestimate the desire for players to have a space of their own that they can customize inside whatever virtual world it is that they're playing. Trust me, as a guy who wasted hours and hours clicking on a signpost in Final Fantasy 14 to try to get a house in the housing lottery, there is very little players won't do. So I think this could actually be a really huge sort of distinguishing feature itself. You notice they're going to roll housing items into just every aspect of the loot system and into all the rewards, so they'll provide plenty of opportunities for you to collect those. You're going to be able to customize the space. You might even be able to have NPCs join you and host special events and things like that. At least that's according to what one beta tester said. Now, I don't know if they're going to offer any kind of multiplayer stuff, if you could actually invite your friends over to your house, but this is Hoda Studio, the people that did Tower of Fantasy. They know about multiplayer. They had dungeons and things like that, so they know how to create a lobby and have people enjoying the lobby. So there is, it stands to reason they could offer something like that. But this is strictly speculation on my part, so I have no idea if they would, but gosh, it would be very cool if they did, right? But yeah, I do think player housing, especially customizable player housing that offers you buffs while you hang out in that space and allows you to host, events with NPCs. This could be huge. I know at least for me, it's almost a reason in and of itself just to go play the. I mean, heck, right now in World of Warcraft, one of the biggest features that's coming up is the fact that they're offering player housing in this game that's been out for 20 freaking years. Okay, so yeah, I think this is could be actually really huge. We'll see. Okay, so there is at least three things that I would call significant features that could distinguish this game from other games in the genre. But is that enough? Right? Because let's face it, gacha games are huge time commitments. I mean, first of all, there's all of the, leveling up your characters, right? Well, first of all, you have to accrue all of your characters. That can take a huge amount of time. Pulling on banners, playing the game to accrue your pool currency, swiping the credit card to accrue more of the pool currency. And then once you build your roster of characters, you've got to level them up. And that means playing the game again daily, day after day, to accrue all the materials that you need in order to level those characters up. And in games that have stamina gating all the way throughout the game, requiring you to log in every day in order to accrue those materials and accrue those currencies, that can take a really long time. The point is that after a while, you've established a pretty significant investment in these games. And so, for a game to come along and offer you a reason to leave your investment behind or to reduce your time spent in that invested game, it's got to be pretty freaking special. So, are these features going to be enough to entice people to leave Honkai Star Rail or to leave Wuthering Waves or even Genshin Impact, where they may have years of accumulated investment in those games, right? To come and play these games. Sure, everybody will try out the new bright and shiny for a month or two, but it's a different thing between trying it out when it comes out at launch versus actually investing in the game and committing to the game, playing the game. And there's a lot out there, right? This space is getting super crowded. Azure Premilia, Do It Night Abyss, Silver Palace, Ananta, and oh well, yeah, a certain MMO that was just announced the other day that I'm going to talk about in another video. Yeah, there's just a lot out there right now competing and vying for your attention. So does Neverness to Everness have what it takes to get you interested? Do you think a robust vehicle driving system is going to be enough? Will this beautiful large world be enough to get you in there? What about the player housing? Maybe that's the thing that will get you into the game to be able to customize your own player house and have NPCs come over, or perhaps even other players come over and check out the cool digs that you. I don't know. I think some of those things are definitely things that I want to try out, and this may be a game that convinces me to play it long term. Like I said, it ticks many of the boxes for me. I don't know. Hard to say. What do you guys think? Anyway, let me know in the comments below if this is going to be something you're definitely going to try out, or if you think it's a hard pass, or maybe just a soft pass. I think that's going to be all for this episode of I'm Still Playing. I hope you've enjoyed the somewhat impromptu version of this. I hope it wasn't too rough. I know that microphone cut out a couple of times as I was recording this thing. Apologies. I will work on acquiring better hardware for the future. Until next time, though, whatever it is that you're playing, play hard, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.